When I hear people say, one of the comments that I often hear is that I'm not going to trade out my youth for something in the future. And this is a common statement that I hear, various degrees of that, where people are sort of unwilling to trade off something today for something in the future. And as soon as I hear that comment, and there's various different forms of it, I almost always know that they're going to have a tough life. And the reason is that virtually everything that we do in order to do anything that matters requires some degree of sacrifice. Now I'm going to put quotes on sacrifice because it's an easy thing to sort of get messed up with and get confused with it in terms of sacrifice. Now, what I'm talking about is the trade-off that you often feel. It requires you to do a conscious effort, but here's the trade-off that happens. It's not necessarily always a trade-off, right? If you were to give up some wealth today to invest for the future, that's great. And you could do spectacularly well with that. That's the only way that I know how to do well. The problem is that we sort of phrase things that sacrifice as pain. And that's true, unless you view it as, I'm just going to have fun with who I am at any given moment, regardless of how much I actually have or the pain that I actually feel. And sort of view it in a different way where the pain is actually part of the solution. It's part of the fun part of it, right? It is the thing where you learn how to, money's easy because there's a lot of things that you can do that are relatively free, that are fun. Going for walks, right? Super, super cheap. It requires a pair of shoes. If that, you probably don't even need a pair of shoes as your relaxation or your fun thing. It doesn't require anything else. Learning how to sing doesn't require too much. Learning a different language, that's very inexpensive, and you can pick something up or you can find somebody that you can do that with. And all these things are just pleasures that are ultimately just frivolous in our lives. But here's the thing, they cost no money, and you can still do things that allow you to build wealth, to do tough things when there is that matter of sacrifice that's happening that is ultimately required often, right? Where, for example, you need to not eat as many calories, for example. Right, that I'm bad for that. I know I probably should be eating less calories, but I do enjoy the occasional ice cream every once in a while. These very simple things, people forget that that they're incredibly easy to do, yet they allow us to make this trade-off in our life. And that statement is, when you say that I'm going to trade off my youth, or I'm not going to trade off my youth, it's just foolhardy, because everything requires this trade-off where you have to take away something, but then at the same time, this is where you have to be entrepreneurial or innovative and sort of view yourself in a much more relaxed way, where it's not necessarily a trade-off, where you are okay with having less, where you are doing okay with any moment of what's going on in your life. And you don't need all of those things that you think that you actually need, all of the sort of things that you think are going to give you pleasure, like a new car or whatever. Yes, you do get some pleasure, do get a temporary boost, but it's temporary, it's fleeting. All that stuff goes and all disappears. You don't see too many new cars in the junkyard. Man, they all turn old, they all start falling apart. And the important thing is picking and choosing what you're going to invest in terms of your time and put this sort of sacrifice in so you could do good things with your life, right? And it's hard. So here's the thing that for myself, um, that part I understand, I get it. That's sort of deeply ingrained in who I am. The harder part for me is on the other side, learning how to spend and enjoy and doing things that don't require sacrifice. And it requires you to sort of balance these two particular things on either side in order for you to do okay with yourself, right? Finding what is I hate to use this term, but what is like the optimal level of where you're doing this sacrifice, where you realize that, yeah, a lot of things are sacrificed and it takes decades, not years. But then once you reach there, coming back and learning how to retraining yourself to spend, to do things that you sort of gave up in the past. And that's the hard thing is this sort of balance of what is the right amount of actually doing that, finding the right amount. So when I hear young people say that they're not going to trade off their youth, we're all trading off our youth. And young people is when you're 60 or 70 and you're making that sort of calculation. Why would I do that now? I'm going to die tomorrow. And ultimately, you have to have some sort of belief in where you are right now and what's going to happen in the future. And you have to believe that there is going to be some future, whatever that might be. And if you can't see that, right, I think that's something that you need to work on. That there is a future that's going to happen. Even when you're 60, you still have many, many years left to live a life. But you have to figure out where are you going to be in terms of allowing yourself not to be thinking too much in the future. And so it's this trade-off. It's a real difficult trade-off that we all struggle with, finding the right amount, what that might look like, but is really thinking about how am I going to manage this? So I do okay at any time where, yeah, I recognize that there is a lot of sacrifice, but at the same time, I also recognize that important things, an important part of our lives, learning how to enjoy, that there's the saying from the Bible, right? Enjoy the fruits of your labor, figuring out what is the right combination that you can do both, where you can sacrifice, but then at the same time, figuring out how you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. And both of those things are very, very important. All right. Take care. Have a wonderful day.